The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. We do that every Tuesday by sharing the stories and advice from people rocking it on the other side. This week, we hear from Jeff Graham. Jeff Graham is president and CMO of Cactus. They're a strategically led creative agency specializing in consumer and behavior change over in Denver, Colorado. Before his role at Cactus, Jeff was SVP Managing Director at Barkley and co-founder Managing Director of Boulder creative boutique, Grenadier. Jeff brings 30 years of agency experience leading account teams in some of the country's most creative-driven agencies, including Crispin Porter Boguski, Arnold Worldwide, TBWA, Chiat/Day, and Core. His account experience spans some of the world's most iconic brands. That includes Microsoft, Volkswagen, Jack Daniels, Tennessee Whiskey, Best Buy, NFL, Gibson, Virgin Mobile, Bass Pro Shops, Indian Motorcycle, Under Armour, and Old Navy. He was even an interim CMO at Old Navy. Fun fact. Jeff takes the time to shed light on how we can all break in and thrive in advertising. I love his advice and cannot wait for you to hear. Oh, and you can connect with Jeff. If you want to head over to our Instagram, you can see his recommended resources as well. I'm also happy to make any personal connections for you. So check out our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram, at Breaking and Entering Pod, all one word. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schelmer. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Jeff Graham, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thanks so much for taking the time and being here with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Gino. Thanks for having me here.
Appreciate you coming on. I know you're probably super busy. Can't wait to talk about you. This is going to be a special episode, Jeff, because you are the president and CMO at Cactus. So a lot to uncover, but where are you at right now is my question.
So I'm in my office at Cactus, and we are at the corner of 15th and Little Raven in lower downtown Denver. Lodo is the name of our neighborhood, in a historic brick building that we've been in. I think we've owned this building since 2010, and the agency has existed for 32 years. So I don't know, I think 3 decades doing anything, you're doing something right. But yeah, we just celebrated 32 years as an agency.
Amazing. Congratulations. That says a lot. And if you want to go see the background, it looks really cool. The brick in the background, you go to our Instagram page, which we'll tease that later. But Jeff, we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about Cactus.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about your life and your career. You've been doing agency life for quite some time now. So we'll pick that apart, your break-in story, maybe longevity in advertising at agency side.
Yeah.
A lot to uncover here. But first, tell us about yourself. What do you do as president and CMO, high level? What does that look like?
Yeah. It's my first time doing this job. So, hopefully I'm doing okay. But as president, I'm kind of on the hook for all the operations and business performance of the agency, and then functional departments, service areas within the agency, like administrative, account service, brand strategy, comms and media, project management. So, and then my partner, Norm Shearer, is the chief creative officer, and he's over pretty much all things creative. So creative design, creative production, and our digital experience group. So we kind of split duties. And then the CMO part of my job is, of course, being on the hook for growth and new business for the agency. But usually when I introduce myself, I'm your one throat to choke for all things Cactus. So
Gotcha.
Somebody's got to do it.
Gotcha. So you started off, and we don't have to pick this part just yet, but you've been account mainly for your whole career and worked your way up through different agencies. Is that accurate? The
Yeah.
account track for you?
Yep. I had a strangely linear journey getting
Mm,
into advertising. Decided I wanted to do this uh, before I even went into college. So
yeah.
uh,
How'd
select,
you?
I selected a college and I selected a course of study. Believe it or not, to I wanted to be an account person in ad agencies, as opposed to the myriad of connections I have that just sort of stumbled into this. Or
Yeah.
I know people who were like school teachers or salespeople, or did something different and then found their you sort of like fumbled and found their way into advertising.
Dang,
I
I want.
actually wanted to do this.
And that's interesting. I had the same thing. I was lucky enough to watch Mad Men growing up, so I was like, before I went, when I was in high school, I watched Mad Men. I wanted to be Roger Sterling, and I thought that was perfect. I wanted to smoke cigarettes all the time and drink all the time and be a jerk. No, just kidding. But
So my Mad Men thing is my mission. My entire career has basically been to be the anti Pete Campbell.
okay,
So
there you go.
that guy has been in my sort of mental bulletin board before that show even existed. But a guy like that,
Sure,
a punchable,
I'm pretty
despic,
sure he got punched a couple times in that
just
show.
just a despicable
Yeah,
display of all the sort of worst cartoonish
yeah.
traits of account people sort of
Mhm.
rolled up in that character. So
And you didn't even know him at the time, but
great.
that's good. And I'm sure you've achieved that, or else you wouldn't have been so successful and are so successful in all the different roles that you've had. More about Cactus, though.
Yeah,
I want to know high level how many people are working there. You're in Denver. You're in any other locations. What are their
yeah,
clients looking like? Give us
yeah.
because we're talking to people that don't know advertising very well. Maybe they want to get into advertising. Maybe they want to work for Cactus. Give
Yeah.
us the rundown. Let's see your CMO brain work a little bit.
Sure. So, I mentioned we're in downtown Denver. We're 32 years old.
Mhm.
We've got right around 70 people in the agency. It is a full service agency, so I think kind of
Nice.
all the requisite capabilities you would expect from sort of a lead uh, full service agency, but still kind of a small agency. And I think we operate, and the culture is still very much of kind of that family feel
Mhm.
of a small agency, and the culture of the place is very special and important. I like to say we were, I think, a purpose driven agency about 25 years before it was a thing
Before it was cool.
in the industry. Our founder is a guy named Joe Conrad, who started this agency at the ripe old age of 26 years old. Like I didn't know up from down when I was in advertising in 26. But Joe quit his job, got together with some partners, and started this agency. And they did that expressly to create a place, one where creative people could come together and do the best work of their careers, but just as importantly, who they do it for.
Nice.
That we would only work for brands, causes, nonprofits, foundations, governmental agencies that somehow help people thrive in their lives. Brands that make the world a better place.
Okay.
Might just be in their small corner of the universe, but
Sure.
if all the client does is sell stuff to make money, that's not going to be a good fit for us. So definitely a real purpose orientation for the agency, stretching back to June 1st, 1990. So
Yeah.
today, I think the idea of having a very purpose driven agency, almost every agency has some kind of like workshop or purpose practice or some product within their agency to
Of
help
course.
clients become more purpose driven. I think the idea coming out of the go-go 80s, to start an agency in 1990 with that sort of focus of doing good in the world and working
Pioneer.
with nonprofits,
Yeah.
it probably sounded insane,
Yeah.
at that time, but it's still, our North Star today for how we select clients and decide to pursue new business and the partnerships that we have, many of them really long partnerships. Our longest is 16 years now,
Nice.
working with the Colorado Lottery. Uh,
Nice.
so yeah, I think, when I describe the agency, I talk about us as a strategically driven creative agency specializing in consumer behavior change. And that flows from our way of working, which we call belief and behavior design. And that is a work methodology that's just born out of the clients that our agency has had over those 32 years. And I know every agency person, I don't care what state you're in, California, Texas, Illinois, New York, we all know this. You get these briefs from the state of wherever you're at, right? Like, oh my gosh, we've got to get kids to, quit smoking, or we have an opioid crisis in the rural part of our state. We need to destigmatize mental health services. We need to reduce suicides among this priority population in our state. Every agency gets those briefs, those RFPs all the
Yeah.
time. Anyways, that work in the shaping belief and behavior, creating better outcomes in that public health space is what built the agency in many ways and shapes how we think and solve problems strategically. When you work in that area, you just become very adept at using uh, behavior change models,
Sure.
um, behavioral economics, just different heuristics of how we make decisions, um, how we form habits and break bad ones
Sure.
and shift into good ones. So the agencies just become very, very good at doing that over a long period of time. And that's how we've kind of landed on this notion of belief and behavior design as a way of working. And the ultimate goal we have really for any client, whether it's a for-profit brand or one of these causes or nonprofits, is ultimately changing behavior.
Yeah. Incredible. Who are some of those clients that you've changed behavior for that you're really proud of?
I think the Uber case, as I refer to it, is a client that we actually created as an agency in partnership with the state of Colorado 10 years ago. It's celebrating its 10th anniversary, and it's called mantherapy.org. And again, that started as one of those briefs that come in from the state. The problem was suicide among working age men is just exploding. The rate is bonkers, and we have to do something as a state to get that under control. And we need an agency to help us do that. And usually those RFPs are for an ad campaign. We need like a public service campaign,
Sure.
and we were certainly going to do that, but we did a ton of strategy work, digging in with behavioral health clinicians to get at what the real problem was. And of course, today, post COVID, everyone's talking about mental health. Being in touch with that, having resources in the workplace for employees to take better care of their mental health. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I mean, we were not talking about that. It was definitely in the shadows. And you think about, particularly for men, working class men, maybe somebody that, drives a pickup truck and works with their hands.
Sure.
You did not talk about that out in the open, certainly not at work, not with other men. You
No.
just stuff it down. And so what we learned was that the state had to get way upstream with interventions with men before they were in crisis. That if a man was already in that crisis place, it's already too late.
Sure.
That the man's made a decision of what he's going to do. And unlike women who frequently, if they try to take their lives, they're unsuccessful, men are shockingly successful in the means that they choose to take their own lives. So it was really critical to get upstream with those interventions. And what we did that was unusual was we used a campaign that's actually funny. And we created a fictitious therapist named Dr. Rich Mahogany. If you were to see the work on our website, probably reminds you of like a mashup of Ron Burgundy and Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation. But
I mean, I knew what this person looked like before just by the name.
There you go. So Rich Mahogany is our sort of manly man fictitious therapist, but
Yep.
walks men through a diagnostic tool that we call a 20-point head inspection, that men can take, and based on how they respond to that, the platform serves up a very personalized experience, resources, things to read, articles to link out to, videos to watch, exercises, more assessments. Really arms you with the tools to start taking better care
Yep.
of your mental health immediately. And it started as an effort here in Colorado. After that, it was licensed by 7 other states, and
Nice.
even the country of Australia licensed it and did their own version of that concept with obviously an Australian guy named Dr. Brian Ironwood.
Nice.
So
They caught wind.
since we launched that platform, over 1 million men have visited the site. 375,000 men have taken that
Good.
point head inspection, and nearly 40,000 men have clicked. There's a red phone you can see in the upper right hand corner of that site, and that connects men with immediate crisis services. Today, it's known as 988. Prior to 988, it was kind of a patchwork of state by state services, but now it connects you to 988 crisis services. So I would say that is probably Cactus's Uber case, and
It's a
probably
great website.
Probably the best demonstration we have of the agency's affinity for and effectiveness in behavior change.
It's perfect. I love it. And that site is mantherapy.org, and you can see the guy that you guys created. I mean, I'm assuming you guys did the visual identity for this site, and it's perfect.
So the
looks great.
The name, the entire website, working very closely with behavioral health clinicians to create a whole series of evidence-based interventions. So this isn't just stuff.
No.
This is
a real deal.
Pop psychology stuff. This is real deal. Mental health stuff. With a very important and singular goal in mind, which was to reduce male suicide. And we absolutely did that by helping hundreds of thousands of men and doing it in a unique way. And that's talking to guys the way that guys talk to guys. So
definitely understood the target audience here.
Yeah. So that's where Rich Mahogany comes in, and just sort of the humor and the tone of the campaign, and all the content that you see throughout the site is really like a guy talking to another guy. And that's why it's different, and that's why it's as effective as it's been for 10 years now.
Amazing. And what about some other clients, high level? Who else are you working with? I mean, this is amazing stuff here. I just want to make sure we're talking about everybody else. Anything else? Any other ones that you want to list out?
We work in some key verticals. that are pretty interesting. I guarantee you that we are the only agency that you've ever talked to that has not just one but two active state lottery accounts. So
Okay.
we have been the agency of record for the Colorado lottery for
Nice.
15, 16 years now. And we are into our first year serving as the lead agency for the North Carolina
Oh, nice.
lottery.
Those are fun accounts for sure.
They're very fun. If you like to make, comedy dialogue television, you
Hmm.
get to do it 12 times a year on lotteries because they
Yep.
have new games and things that they want you to know about
Sure.
every month. So that's just one of those interesting verticals like public health and behavioral health that we've gotten very, very good at over the years. We
Mhm.
also do a lot of work in the financial services space, and in particular, we work with, as I mentioned before, just that kind of purpose orientation and only working with brands that help people thrive in their lives, that make the world a better place. When it comes to banks, it's really like credit unions and regional banks that are really deeply connected to the communities that they serve. So I sort of refer to them as like, non-evil banks. That's
Gotcha.
who we're gonna work for, not the ones that you read about that are, opening fake accounts for, customers that didn't know that, they opened them, there's a lot of scandal ridden players, big banks in the financial services space. Those are a terrible fit for our mission orientation here at Cactus, but we love working with credit unions and regional banks. So we've done a lot of work there. We do a lot of work in the adventure travel and
Mhm.
outdoor rec space.
See
Um,
Zion.
so yeah, we've worked with Greater Zion, with Vail. Um, Currently, we work with Arapahoe Basin Ski Area, which is an amazing, legendary ski area here in Colorado. Uh,
Nice.
we work with retailers, outdoor retailers like Christie Sports, who operate in 5 states here in the Mountain West. We work with hard goods brands like Plano Molding that makes tackle boxes and
Oh
gun
yeah.
cases and bow cases. Um, so a lot of experience in travel and outdoor rec. We've done a lot of work in retail and CPG, of course. The Boulder and Colorado in general is kind of an epicenter for sort of natural and or organic foods. That whole space, it's kind of ground zero here for that. So we've worked with a lot of clients in that space as well. So um,
I love it.
right now, uh, pretty excited about some work that we just launched for Heart House, which is a vegan QSR concept that's backed by Kevin Hart. So
Oh,
had
can't
some
lose.
work that was an Ad Age just the other day for Heart House. It's a right now it's just one store, and they're about to launch their second store. But uh, you know, Kevin's out to really change the whole QSR industry
Yep.
and give everyone a great plant-based option. He calls it plant-based for the people,
Nice.
and how to do that and bring it to the people in a way that's just as delicious, just as convenient, the same price point as the kind of decadent analogs that we're used to at a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a Burger King. So
Mhm.
if you like In and Out, I think you'd find a lot of similarities in the menu in terms of burgers, fries, shakes, tots. It's all made of plants,
Yep.
and so since it's only made of plants, we had some fun with food porn and created a website called onlyplants.xxx.
There you go.
And so you can see some anthropomorphized menu items, cheeseburgers, fries, tots, shakes,
Love it.
kind of doing amateur sexy stuff,
Heck
uh,
yeah.
just like you might see on OnlyFans, but it's absurd because it's burgers and fries and shakes doing this stuff. So
There you go. Very smart way to tap into culture. Very fun. I want to talk about you now
yeah,
and kick it back to how you broke into advertising, tell your story.
yeah.
So I was going to ask you, so how did you know that you wanted to be in advertising, before you got to college? What was that point where you said, I want to do this for a career?
I think I was just one of those kids who watched way too much TV growing up, after
Sure.
school, like just parking myself in front of the TV and watching like Brady Bunch reruns and sort of memorizing all the, dialogue and plot lines and, commercial jingles. I'm a
Sure.
child of the 70s and 80s. So, a lot of like kind of bad jingle based advertising and um, just finding out that, wow, that's actually like a job.
Hmm.
That's something that you can do. And
How'd you find that out though?
I think just through in school, in high school, had some teachers, art teachers that were like what they called at the time commercial artists.
Sure.
So when logos and corporate identity stuff was actually a lot of that was actually done by hand, back in the day. So
So that was like yeah, they knew
going to
about that.
school and learning from folks like that. And I think if when I started, I thought I might be creative, because you grow up, your parents tell you you're awesome and
Yeah.
and of course I grew up with people telling me like, oh, you're a great artist, like you should be like a commercial artist or something. And of course then I got into art classes and looked at the person to my left and the person to my right and realized I would get absolutely crushed if I was in a setting where I had to like compete with these people who really do have amazing talent
Sure.
on a daily.
Nowadays, I feel like with the softwares like the Adobe suite,
Yeah,
you probably could have swung it.
I don't know. So then I thought about writing because I'm a pretty good writer. But I think the idea of just sort of, making magic on command was something that I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I have a deep reverence and just I'm awestruck by people that can do that all day, every day.
Yeah. Just
My
switch it on.
that are writers and art directors, and
Yeah.
that's I think when I started investigating and realizing, hey, there's this job path that you can be an account person and you can be a champion of creativity, interested in and an advocate for writers and art directors, and you can write quite a bit of stuff yourself, but also be interested in solving problems and business and taking care of things for clients and kind of more being more of a horizontal manager of all the different things that happen in an ad agency. So that, sorry, so that we have this terrible phone system here. Um, so that seemed yeah, that seemed pretty interesting. And so I literally talked to my high school guidance counselor about, I want to work in ad agencies. And I think what I would want to do is sort of be this horizontal account role versus being a vertical specialist, like a writer and art director. And I grew up in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri, and University of Missouri Columbia happens to be a
Great school.
pretty good journalism school. And
Great J school. Great ad school.
the ad sequences there. So that
Mhm.
was pretty easy decision for me.
Nice.
So I went to University of Missouri Columbia and went through the J school there. Did several internships. My final internship was at, believe it or not, TBWA Chiat Day had an office in St. Louis until 1997,
Oh, nice.
and I was an intern there.
Why? Do they have a what account was there?
It wasn't an account. It was all about the guy Bill Tragos, who's the T in
Yep.
TBWA.
Not a lot of people know what that acronym is
Right.
or who
So
the
it's
names are. I know
four guys' names, but the T
it's true.
is a New Yorker, Bill Tragos, but he went to university at Washington University, which is a
Okay.
really
Wash U.
Wash U is a great
Great
school,
school. Hard to get into.
St. Louis, and he wanted to have an office of TBWA in St. Louis, not Chicago, but in St. Louis.
Sure.
So there was always a TBWA office there, and so
It works out perfectly.
I was an intern there and had a really good experience.
How'd you
And
get the internship? That's what we want to know because
I
that's pretty much a good break in right there.
so I had two internships previously. So
That's too many internships.
so my first internship was with like a print publication that my
Enjoy
neighbor
your summers. Drink some beer with your friends.
so my neighbor owned this print publication, and I did an internship there.
Nice.
And then another internship I did was when I was in college. I worked for the NPR affiliate on
Okay.
campus, so did a little bit of print, did a little bit of broadcast,
Nice.
but I didn't have any agency experience, so I took those two internships. And fortunately, I was interviewed by a guy who also went to University of Missouri Columbia,
Mhm.
during the Mizzou J School, and maybe he took pity on me, but he hired me as an intern, and I had a great experience. And a few months after that, I guess there was an opening for an entry level account person, and they called me at school and asked me, "What are you doing when you get out of school?" And my answer was, "I'm going to go back to school. I want to go to business school and get my MBA." And they were like, "Well, what if you did that at night and you work for us during the day, and we'll help you. We'll help you go to school."
Nice.
So I went in to talk to him about that, and that sounded like a pretty good deal. So I started my journey at what was the St. Louis office of TBWA Shia Day, and worked there for 3-4 years. And at night, I went to business school at St. Louis University, which is a Jesuit university.
Flu.
SLU, you got it.
I
And
know it. I'm here, Chicago.
got
I
my
know all those.
I got my MBA at SLU. So that was my first job.
Why'd you get the MBA? Is that important? Do
Um,
we need to do that? Is that a
I don't
a
I
tip?
don't I don't think you need to do that. I felt like I needed to do that for me.
High
Uh,
achiever?
um, I think in the journalism school you get to like avoid math,
Mhm.
and a lot of sort of just kind of basic
Business. Yeah.
business things that I think without having that grounding, that understanding, I don't think you're as effective as an account person, just in terms of understanding the pressures that
Yeah.
that your clients are under. And
No, it's a
when
great
they
point.
say things that make you want to pull your hair out, or make decisions that seem gutless, and are really frustrating to us as agency people,
Mhm.
understanding what these guys are going through. So
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
felt like
understand the client for sure.
I felt like it helped me just to be better in understanding the clients that I was going to work with over the years.
No, that's absolutely fair. Look, you have a very, very clear vision of what you wanted at an early age. I also had that, and I was really fortunate. And that's, I think, that's an advice piece we could just talk about right now.
Yeah,
Try to figure that out as early as you can, and do that
I
through the podcast. Listen to account, listen to copywriting, listen to art, listen to
yes,
strategy, listen to
yes,
production. Look, now if you listen to this podcast, you're already doing this. But I would
yeah,
love for people their freshman year of college, if they go to college, to understand like very early on what the roles are, and then maybe that's why I want to be an advertising 100 teacher, because I
yeah.
feel like at an early age they need to figure that out as soon as they can, because then boom, they could work backwards, just like you did. You
I,
knew very, very early on.
I could not agree more. And just because you select advertising or being an account person, it doesn't mean you're going to be like me and be doing it 30 years later. You might do it for a few years,
Right.
really figure out what you like, and then maybe go to the client side, or you go work for a nonprofit, you do something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've taught a class at the university level at Mizzou J School, and then also at CU,
Nice.
that I call creative account leadership. It's basically just being an account person that creative people don't hate. That's
Yep.
just of the class, but it never ceases to amaze me. It's a class of seniors, graduating seniors, and I usually ask them, like, you know, what do you guys want to do? Who wants to work in advertising?
It's
Uh,
crazy.
and you see these, like,
They
maybe
don't
a
know.
few hands go up, or this sort of like kind of I don't know hand motion. And then even if people know that they want to go work in agencies, then I ask the question, do you want to be an art director? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be a strategist? Do you want to be an account person?
Yes.
And you just get just blank stares.
I just
Uh,
did this. I mean, I've been going to schools and I start off, raise your hand what year you are, raise your hand if you first off I go, I'm only talking to people that work in ad agencies. I don't know anything
yeah,
else. And I go, do you want to work account? Do you want to do the same exercise as you? Raise
yeah.
your hand, and they don't know. And then you might get one or two that are very certain, but it's just so
And
you just have the upper hand when you know when you can work backward
total-
the best.
well, on a resume, just telling me what's your ask, what can I do to help you. And it's so much better if somebody says, I am looking for an entry level account management role in a
Mhm.
creative agency setting to help me further my journey in advertising, or capitalize on the skills I've learned in the 2-3 internships that I've had.
Mhm.
I now know exactly what to do with this person
Yep.
and how I can help them. What
Right.
I frequently see are resumes that essentially say, I can write, I take great pictures, I know Adobe Creative Suite, I can design stuff. Whatever you guys need me to do,
Yeah.
my parents have told me I'm awesome, just like my parents told me I was
Sure.
awesome.
Sure.
And just, essentially what they're asking me to do is either create a multidisciplinary job for them that doesn't exist, or
That'd be cool.
or for us in an interview setting to kind of figure out what they
Yeah.
should do with their lives.
Yeah.
And I don't,
You don't have time.
as somebody that's hiring, I don't have time for that.
No.
You know, it's so much better if the person has done the work on themselves to
Yeah.
understand, I'm not great at everything. These are my strengths. These are
Right.
the things that I need to work on. And this is the area of an agency that I think I can come in and have the most impact. Even as an entry level person,
Hmm.
I will help move this agency forward if you just give me a chance. But you've got to know what you want to do.
Love
Don't make me try to figure it out in an
that.
interview setting.
So crucial. So crucial. Um, yeah. Are you hearing me okay? I'm just a
Yeah,
question. Okay.
yeah,
Definitely super crucial. I've heard people say they want to be a creative, and I go, okay, do you want to write or do you want to do art? And they go, I can do both. No, pick one.
yeah,
Pick one.
yeah. You got to, yeah. So many, I'm a two-way player. I can do this. I can do
Sure.
that. It's basically like whatever you need, just plug me in, and I'm
And
gonna.
and you can see how that might sound good. Like I could do anything. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah,
I'm willing to help you out. It's a great mentality. You should be willing to learn and take a challenge once you're in there. But
yeah,
we're talking about from the job perspective. Like when you're in these interviews, you want to show something that's pointed
yeah.
that for that specific
I,
role.
I think it's fine for an internship too, to have that kind of
Sure.
horizontal, multidisciplinary,
Hmm.
because that's oftentimes what many internship experiences are.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
not. Yeah, absolutely. And you're learning in an internship, and you could be honest at an internship. You'd be like, I'm definitely interested in account, but I also might want to dabble in strategy. I want to help out and job
right?
shadow strategy. That's great for an internship,
Yep. Yeah.
but
But
not
yeah,
for not when you're getting
now when
into the
you're
work.
yeah, when you're interviewing for a position
Yeah,
and you're being considered with somebody's taking an hour out of their day to talk to you, like, I need to know that you're interested in that position, qualified for it. Uh, I
Yep.
I don't want to put somebody, say, in an entry level account service role, and then 6 months later they go, actually, I want to be a filmmaker. I
Nope.
uh, Again, don't make the agency sort of work out your existential career crisis on the clock.
Right. Right. Exactly. Perfect. How can people find out um, um, what they're interested in other than like what are yeah, I guess like what do you think you would do if you weren't sure again nowadays?
Yeah. I think the one of the things I love about advertising is just the generosity of the people who work in this industry, and how willing they are to do things like this podcast and talk to students, talk to even down into like high school, to help them understand uh, about the business, about
Yep.
all the different ways you can, like, hey, if you're a math nerd and you love like crunching numbers, like, guess what? You could be a data analyst, and like go nuts with these insanely huge data files, to help us drive our clients business forward.
Yep. Finance.
You can be in media, you can be in finance, you
Yep.
can be an art director, you can be a designer, you can be a writer, an account person, a project manager.
PR.
There's so many ways that you can contribute to an ad agency, but a lot of those are vertical specialties. You're a brand strategist or a copywriter or an art director. They are very good at like a project manager, one thing, and they do that with you know great ability and professionalism all day every day. Whereas I think the difference with account is, I talk about it as it's a horizontal role
Yep.
within the agency, where I've got to know, you know, a colleague of mine once talked about, you have to be the sort of second best at everything in the agency. You have to know just enough about like art direction, design, writing, project management, media, brand strategy. You have to know just enough to be dangerous, you know, and be that kind of cruise director, if you will, for
You know
your
what
clients, to help them get the most out of the agency that you work in.
I heard somebody said a great account person has to be a Swiss Army knife, but
Yeah,
with a chef's knife for a blade.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a good one. I feel blessed to have been able to do this for as long as I have. But to your question about, what do you do, I'm just struck at how generous people are with their time, and
Sure.
that if you ask people like yourself or people like me, if you reach out to them on LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn,
Write a note.
and write a note and say,
That's it.
uh,
People
do you
forget to
have
do that.
do you have 15 minutes, 20 minutes that you could just do a quick informational interview with me, just to tell me a little bit about what you do, what you love about what you do in your agency. Talk to an account person, talk to a writer, talk to an art director.
Yep.
um, you know Start to you're starting to build a network of people who work for great agencies who have said yes to you,
Yep.
and they'll refer at the end of each one of those calls, ask them for one name of someone else that can be your next call. And through those conversations, you're not only starting to build a network that I know, just for myself, has served me so well for so long. Um, but you start working out the parts of the business that really are interesting to you, and the ones that I'm glad somebody else does that in the
Right.
agency, because that does not sound interesting to me. Crunching numbers and doing, you know, analysis on these giant data files doesn't sound interesting to you. That's okay, because somebody else will do that.
Right.
But you can sort of do the process of elimination to
Yep.
find the ones that are most interesting to you, and then focus your course of study on that. If you're a creative person,
Mhm.
you might want to go to a finishing school.
Yep.
afterwards. It might be a 3-year program, it might be a 5-quarter program. But once you zero in on what you want to do within an agency, then you know do whatever you can to just learn as much as you can about it. Talk to as many people as you possibly can that do that job, and get advice from them. And I have found that people in this industry uh, have a bias to saying yes
Heck yeah.
to smart young people who reach out and are interested in this industry.
Yep.
We need you. We need smart young people, um, to keep all of our agencies modern and relevant and creating work that connects with modern consumers, or we're just getting busy going out of business.
Yep. And what you explained, like that process of reach out to LinkedIn, connect with them, have a conversation, and then ask for one more is exactly what I just did. I just recorded the conversations,
Yeah,
and you can see my process of going from my friends to their friends to their friends of friends, and that grew to 135 episodes later.
there you go.
So it's the same process. Everybody does it. As
Yeah,
long as they write, as is the number one tip I have, write a LinkedIn note.
yeah,
That's it. And I do it every time, and I do it different for every person. And it takes me 5 seconds. I mastered it. Like, hey, my name is Gino. I run this
yeah,
podcast. I would love to connect with you and have you on.
yeah,
Boom, done. Figure out what that is for that person. I don't know what you want to say, other than you might want to connect and learn about them.
yeah.
But when you forget that note, people won't connect with you as
And,
much. It's
and
just,
will
just
I will say, that's not only a course of action and a skill that will help you break into this business. It's something I use to this day
for new
in my
business. Yeah.
for new business and my job as a CMO. I've been president of the ad club here in Denver, and you know, sent notes to like Lee Clow or
Oh yeah.
Jeff Goodby to say, hey, would you agree to come to Colorado and just give a talk to
Mhm.
this this
Yep.
day long
Mhm.
advertising symposium, or talk to this class that I'm teaching at a university level. So
Right.
it's a skill that you'll need for the entirety of your career, but it's also, I think, exactly the way that you can learn the specific areas of the agency business that are exciting to you, that
Mhm.
feel like that don't feel like work, that feel like a calling.
Right. Perfect. And this podcast I'm sure I can connect anybody with anybody on the show. And of course, with you, Jeff, best way, I'm assuming, is LinkedIn then, if they leave a note properly.
Absolutely. LinkedIn is great, and my email is easy. My initials are JG. So it's just jg@cactusinc.com.
Nice.
So an email or a note on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
I'd love to connect and help you on your journey in any way that I possibly can. It's this industry has given so much to me over the years. I think it's the least I can do. It's a quote that's sometimes attributed to David Ogilvy. I probably have it wrong, but it's like, don't forget to send the elevator back down. You know,
Yeah.
when you feel like you're kind of set, you've had a good career. Um,
Yeah.
you know, always make sure to you know uh, help the next wave, the next generation of folks fall in love with this business, because there's a lot easier ways to make a living than working in the agency business. So finding people that have that are the same kind of weirdos that you are, that I am, that see this as just like, on some days it's like so much fun, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do it. you know
Yeah.
we need people that feel that way about uh, agency work, and I feel very fortunate that I still feel that way, that I
Yeah.
still love what I do and getting to come in every day. So finding that next generation of weirdos that that want to come in and keep the crazy train rolling, Like, it starts with those conversations. So please reach out.
Perfect. Amazing, Jeff. Amazing job. Thanks so much for all of your insight, telling your story, telling us about Cactus, and telling us how we can reach out to you. So I'm sure our audience will do that. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz. They're a PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest.